So very much. So yes, I'm Veronica McCauley, and I'm giving this talk on behalf of myself and other colleagues from the University of Galway, Carmen Keeley, Ethan Hill O'Driscoll, and Paul Flynn. And I'm going to talk to you about, um, just as Charles said, yes, biology is for me, and raising the science capital of boys. I've carried out a lot of research over the years. I mean, my area is in physics education and about bringing girls into physics. And now we're going to look at maybe bringing boys into biology. If we can get this going. There we go. So in terms of pathways into higher education, some males struggle to see that biology is for them. Recent decades have shown research emphasis on science experiences in male-dominated disciplines, which you'll be familiar with, whether it's physics or computer science or engineering, but less so in female dominant disciplines like biology. So that's interestingly enough what I'm hoping to talk to you about today. Now, research indicates that the ratio of biology uptake in DESH schools, hold on till I just move this out of the way, in DESH schools. Now, what DESH schools are there in Ireland is they're schools that support educational disadvantaged students. And the uptake of biology in those schools at senior cycle level is 2 girls to every 1 boy. But it's not just in educationally disadvantaged schools. This happens throughout all of the schools in Ireland. And I find this very interesting. In terms of the particular cohort that I'm dealing with, which is educationally disadvantaged schools, if males don't choose biology at upper secondary, then they're excluded from a range of pathways to higher education and potentially rewarding lucrative careers. This is important considering the insufficient numbers of students who follow into science careers, which is fundamental to economic growth. The slides are a bit slow to change. Hold on. The mouse. Okay, now you can the arrows. Okay, great, thank you. So It's Not Just Science is the name of the project that I received funding for to do this project. And it's designed, the idea is to design a project to entice higher numbers of males to consider biology as a pathway into higher education. And just to refer to the title, it's not just science. Where that comes from is that it's not just about moving students into careers in science. It's about being very aware of the set of transferable skills that all students get from science and that can be used for any career choice. So I set out with fellow colleagues to design a module with teachers that incorporates science capital teaching approach. I'll explain to you in a couple of minutes what that is. But it is an evidence-based pedagogy that was initiated in University College London that has been shown to convince children that science is for them. Now I'm going to apply this to biology. So just before Christmas, we sat out and we designed a module called Science for Survival. It's biology content, and we aligned it with the science capital teaching approach pedagogy. We trained the teachers in January, just a couple of months ago, and currently there are 5 teachers working with 100 students using this pedagogy. And hopefully towards the end of the year and into next year, 2024, we will extend this, this module to a larger group of students along the west coast of Ireland. So now a little insight into the pedagogy that we use, the science capital teaching approach. But before I explain that, I need to explain a little bit about what science capital is. Research shows that we are still facing a STEM skills gap, and that students taking STEM subjects after the age of 16 still fall into roughly the same gender, ethnic, and social groups that they did 20 years ago. Everyone has different amounts of science capital, and this affects whether or not they feel, yes, science is for me. A student science capital can be directly influenced by a number of things. Science experiences at home, science experiences at school, and science experiences in everyday life. Now, what we're only looking at is science experiences at schools, and we're working with teachers. The science capital teaching approach, according to UCL, is a way of teaching that convinces students of the value of science in their everyday lives. There are 3 pillars to consider. The first one is personalizing and localizing. And what that means is contextualizing and linking the science, or in our case, the biology that we teach, to young people's lives. Then there's elicit, value and link, which is about eliciting ideas from young people, valuing what they know and care about, and linking it to the science that you're teaching. And thirdly, there's a building science capital. Now, there's 8 dimensions in science capital, and I'll show you a glimpse of them in a few minutes. It's too much to go into now, but just to sort of give you an idea of it, it's, for an example would be to convey the idea to students that science leads to lots of jobs, not just jobs in science. And I'll explain that a little further in a few minutes. In terms of the dimensions of science, in terms of the dimensions of science capital, I'm just going to move this out of the way a little bit. I'll just read out the 8 of them. It's to increase the science literacy and confidence of your students, about valuing science in daily life, about illustrating the transfer of science, knowledge of skills, about encouraging science media consumption, identifying out-of-school science learning contexts, highlighting family science skills, qualifications and knowledge, sharing knowledge of science-related career pathways, and providing moments for your students to talk to family, friends, and community about science. Now, that was my fault. Let's move this. Here we go. So I'm just going to play a short video clip because I know you can drift off when you're listening to just one person speaking, but it will give you the voice of teachers and how they try to use the science teaching capital to work with their students. And this is a video taken from UCL. So see now if we can get it working. Okay, the link doesn't seem to be working, but I might be able to go into a file because I tried to download it as well. Let's see. It's a video. Maybe the link didn't work. I think the link is sorry. Down here. That's the link there. That's it.
Il tuo percorso inizia per S. Partecipa al Job Day Firenze e Siena di Esselunga. Candidati online su esselungajob.com.
Thank you.
Over the past 4 years, we've been working with teachers across the country to co-develop a science capital teaching approach. It's a mindset, really. It's working with your existing curriculum, it's not a whole new set of materials, and at the base of it is trying to broaden what counts as doing science in the classroom. There are 3 main aspects of the approach. The first is personalising and localising science. This is going beyond just contextualising science, it's really linking it to young people's lives. There's then the idea of valuing what young people bring with them, so eliciting their ideas, their experiences, what they know about, what they care about, valuing this and linking it to science. The third aspect is building the different dimensions of science capital. For example, conveying the idea that science leads to lots of jobs, not just jobs in science.
Who's ever stood on one of these with their foot?
Stabbing into your foot, no?
Yeah, stabbing into your foot.
An example of how I'm able to localise today, we spoke about football boots to do with pressure, and we gave examples of the 3G pitch. The class is very athletic and a lot of them play the football on the 3G pitch that we've got outside. We had a picture on and they were like, oh God, yeah, we go on that. That's something that's in my life.
Where would you wear football boots?
On grass.
On grass, where might you not wear football boots?
Like concrete.
Why is that?
I have a singer, so when we talk about sound, I can use her background. I have a dancer, so I can use that when we're talking about physics. So elicited value and linking is an important part of Science Capital. Being in a classroom, students always have something to say, so it's making sure what they're saying is actually valued, so they continue being in a position where they want to say something. No pressure, not enough weight, brilliant. You very often get students, well, science isn't important, I don't need the science for my job. So I think it's very important to show them that science is in everything that they do.
I feel like it's really helped me with my teaching. I feel like it's helped the students value learning science and made it absolutely relatable to their lives.
It's generating wider student engagement in the lesson. There's increased understanding, there's better student attitudes to science, and perhaps most important of all, it's been happier teachers.
It makes a massive difference to me in the engagement students have and how I look at the topic as well to make it more approachable for them so it's in their grasp. It's a subject that they can see themselves doing now, and hopefully that will continue in their coming years in school. They want to be there, they want to be in my classroom, they're bouncing up the corridor, they've got happy faces, and I get goodbyes out of them instead of they're just storming out the classroom.
It doesn't take a lot of time to do this, but the outcomes can be fantastic. It's a no-brainer.
Thank you for bearing with me with that. So I'll just move it down to the bottom again. So just as a recap, teaching using a science capital teaching approach, it's really about broadening the curriculum and broadening what counts as doing science. There we go. And as an example of building science capital, I just want to reflect again on that idea of conveying the idea that science leads to lots of jobs and not just jobs in science. Many jobs use science skills, and some jobs that we don't even naturally consider as science jobs use a lot of science skills. So what we did was, when we did the training with our teachers in January, we talked to them about all of the science skills that are available in a number of jobs that they might not think about. And we go through these jobs with them and we list off the different types of science skills. So for example, a game designer, they use logic and data skills to build fun and realistic game worlds. They need to test and evaluate their work and adjust their plans. And these are all things that you learn in science. Journalists, they need to be able to observe, research, and think critically. Again, these are all skills that the students can also learn in science. It's looking at that application of science. And this is an exercise that we felt helped broaden not just the teachers, but their future students about the area of science. And what we did was, the activity that we did with our teachers is we used biology. And so we got them to list all of the, to look at the biology skills and then how they could be mapped and traced to the future positions and jobs that some of their students were thinking about. So in terms of science capital teaching approach, many of our teachers are doing a lot of this already, but perhaps not in a conscious way. And we hope that our training will help them do that more consciously in terms of raising their students' science, and in our case, biology capital. We're only at the beginning of this journey, so it'll be interesting to see what results come from this. The evidence base in UCL is very positive. It says that using the science capital teaching approach in an effective way can increase uptake of senior science subjects. It can close the gap between different categories of students, for example, those more marginalized and those more privileged. It has shown to improve student science attitudes, and it is shown to provide a positive teacher experience. So I'm not sure if our research will yield the same, but we're going to give it a go and see how it works with our students. Our hope is that the science capital teaching approach will impact a positive change in our male students. And we're hoping that by tracing the same pedagogy with teachers in their biology classrooms, we're hoping that more males will choose biology at upper secondary, and that they will therefore, more of these male students will be included in pathways to higher education, rewarding, possibly lucrative careers and so on, but to support economic growth. So to leave you with one thought, biology is not just for some, it is for everyone. And thank you.